Hello, everyone. All right, so we have finished looking at the Middle Ages. I was going to have it where we took a look at like Japan and seeing how they navigated the Middle Ages. Only thing is, we're running out of time between having it where we had to take social studies classes to go towards science fair and then just having a reduced workload right now. We're unfortunately going to skip that part. We're going to go to the Renaissance now. And so, coming out of the Middle Ages, what happened was especially in Italy, in Florence, Italy is where it started as far as the Renaissance goes. And that was, Renaissance means rebirth. And so it was like a rebirth of really valuing culture, valuing philosophy, art, mathematics, education, all those different things became highly valued in a way that it hadn't been before during the Middle Ages. And with that being said, then that meant that there was a whole lot more artists, philosophers, mathematicians, inventors, all those different types of professions we saw really explode during the Renaissance. And so that came right after the Middle Ages. I'm just going to quickly show you my screen here. And this is just a really brief recap, which I thought was helpful. It talks about how it was from around the 14th to the 17th century. Some people think it starts closer to the 15th century. And what happens is, like I said, it means rebirth. It has it where they are starting to, in a sense, come out of the dark and having it where now they're taking a look at education, science, art, literature, music, and a better life for people in general. And one thing you'll see that happened during the Renaissance was a cultural movement called humanisms. That's where you end up having it where they're really motivated to take a look at becoming educated in the classical arts, literature, science. That's becoming highly valued compared to where it was in the Middle Ages. They're looking for realism and human emotion in art. So they're really looking for the artist to convey emotion, to be able to really feel what the artist was feeling in their work. And also having it where they're realizing that, hey, people, you should try pursuing comfort, riches, beauty. Like those are important things too, not just making an existence for day to day. And so we also have one of the most famous paintings from that period, which is the Mona Lisa. Pretty much everyone has heard of that. And that was painted during the Renaissance by Leonardo da Vinci. And then, like I said, it started in Florence, Italy. It spread to other city-states in Italy. A lot of the reason why it started in Italy, it had to do because of the history of Rome and the Roman Empire. Another thing, though, that I think is quite key is that Italy had become very wealthy. And so think of it this way. If you're rich, it's a little easier to spend your money on the arts, the things that would be considered to be more of a luxury. So they spent their money supporting artists and different geniuses within the sciences and the mathematics. And so that happened in the Renaissance. You'll see, we also have Michelangelo that was a very talented sculptor, architect, and painter. Leonardo da Vinci, he's not just known for his painting. He also was a sculptor. He was a scientist. He was an inventor, an architect, an engineer, and a writer. Like he was a multi-talented man. And so the Renaissance man has a lot to do with being an expert and talented in many areas. So we would definitely call Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo a Renaissance man. They totally fit that description. And so here has just a few facts. I'll include this in your, what is it called? Your lesson, just so you can refer to this as well. But, you know, it's some fun facts. Things like talk about Plato, he was a philosopher. And so he came from the Renaissance as well. It was interesting. I didn't know that Venice was famous for their glass work. And then Milan in Italy was famous for its ironsmiths. Even having it where this one I thought was funny, that Michelangelo and Leonardo became rivals when Michelangelo mocked Da Vinci for not finishing a statue of a horse. And this was also where you would see artists and architects competing for job or commission to create a piece of art. So we also see the word guild, you know, where it's kind of like the labor unions for these different craftsmen. That's artists were initially thought of as craftsmen, and coming from guilds, and kind of the guilds led into the Renaissance as well, where they could fine tune their craft, they could become masters of it, become really good at it, and create a name for themselves in that. So there's other links here that you can take a look here. There's people that we're not going to be able to explore that would have been very interesting, but for this one here, this is just a brief overview of the Renaissance, and just giving you an idea of just where, like, what was the time period that it came, what was the main focus of the Renaissance. And like we see, it's the rebirth of education, science, and all of that. So they're really having it where they are building their culture and not just kind of living day to day existing. So with that being said, here's what we're going to do. That's the brief overview here. What you're going to do is you get a chance to be able to do kind of a CSI investigation into William Shakespeare. And I think it'll be pretty interesting. I found it fun reading through this myself because, to be fair, I've read works by William Shakespeare, but I haven't necessarily investigated very in-depthly into who he is and some of the controversy around if he actually existed. So with that being said, this document here, please do not forget you need to make a copy. So make a copy of the entire presentation. Please do not forget your name. Oh, that's my name. Don't forget your name. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this document in the next video. So keep in mind, just before I end off here, it has this little information page here that just gives you an idea of, hey, if you are having a hard time reading the text, just click zoom, go like that, unselect that now, and now it's much easier for you to be able to read the text that's going to be coming below. And then all you'll have to do is just click on the text boxes as they come up to write your answers. All right, I'll be back for part 2.